Hello guys, this is very interesting and actually tells a lot about the panicking Kremlin. The Ministry of Economy of the Russian Federation published their macro prognosis for the Russian economy in 2026 and then almost immediately decided to hide this information. It disappeared from all the newspapers that published it, but of course lots of Russians and foreign experts managed to print screen it. And now they discuss how big the problems inside the Russian economy are and how Kremlin tries to hide them. But it's impossible to hide when the problems are that big. And I believe one of the reasons why the White House changed its rhetorics about Russia, rightfully naming it a paper tiger, is that they know the truth about the state of the Russian economy. In 2026 alone, the Kremlin will have to pay more money on their federal debt than on education and medicine together. Just imagine the poverty of the country. And when making your decisions and your predictions about the course of the Russian war in Ukraine, please remember that Russia, being the largest country in the world, has a smaller GDP than the one of Texas. The GDP of Russia is smaller than the one of Italy. So trust me, the Russian Federation does not need any more new territories. They don't have enough money for half of their own territories. And in this video, let's discuss very carefully and very attentively what was in that macro prognosis that made Kremlin destroy it so quickly and hide it from the people. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see the defeat and demilitarization of Russia that has already started, subscribe and please share these videos to spread the truth and support Ukraine. So, according to that macro prognosis of the Ministry of Economy of the Russian Federation that first appeared online and that almost immediately disappeared, they will have serious problems with the GDP growth. Actually, they wanted it to be at least 2.5% for 2026, and now they don't expect it to be even 1%. And that is huge in comparison with other countries which GDP keeps growing and Russian expenditures keep growing. That's an interesting and quite surprising fact that Russian federal budget expenditures doubled since the beginning of the failed blitzkrieg. So when you think about this exhausting war, when you think about fatigue, don't think about Ukraine, think about Russia. Russia has more territories, more people, and thus more problems. And it spends literally almost $1 billion a day on the destruction of Ukrainian territories, but that still does not make them closer to any victory, just the country closer to the collapse of the Russian Federation. So, these federal budget expenditures in 2022-2021 were 4.4% and now they are 8.8%. And all in the context with falling income, with more and more problems. For example, for 2025, they also predicted this budget deficit grows. It's like a normal economic process, but what is definitely not normal is that it is 5 times higher than expected, and we are not yet in the end of 2025. So during this 3 quarters or even less of 2025, the budget deficit growth is 5 times larger than it was expected. Thumbs up for that, because it means a lot if you combine it with very obvious things that are already happening in the Russian stores, with the prices on basic products, with deposits that people cannot freely take from their banks, with queues caused by shortages of fuel in the country once described as a gas station, and many, many more things that they try to hide, just as they want to hide this macro prognosis, but they cannot. Subscribe to know the truth and share the videos. This helps because unfortunately many global media, even those that support Ukraine are still very Moscow-centered and don't know how to, come closer to this part of the world. So we may say that Russia has serious problems with their state debt. It's a problem for many countries. It's the reality of the 21st century, but theirs is close to 20% of their GDP, 19.5. That is huge. If other countries experience similar things, they would definitely concentrate on internal problems, but in contrary, Russia keeps speaking about this military needs. And what is also very telling, if it's the right word, because of budget deficit, because of serious problems in Russian regions, they now want to increase VAT, value-added tax. It is 20% now in the Russian Federation, and they want to make it 22%. And you know what's the reason for that? They, of course, have problems with budget, and they want to take all of this money out of the Russian businesses, the Russian families, and invest them in what the Kremlin describes as defense. We all know that in Russia they name attacks and war their defense, but actually the longer I observe how effectively we implement our drone sanctions, how we develop our own cruise missiles, Neptune missiles, I feel maybe they are right, and maybe 2026 will be the year of Russian defense, like total defense with no money and no efforts for attacks. Trust me, they are lucky, Ukrainians are kind, and we will only target legitimate military facilities, drone factories. And to support the Ukrainian armed forces, I once again remind you about our NEFO campaign. You know how proud I am when we fulfill the dreams of Ukrainian soldiers, and I connect the link to our campaign. Please, let's boost it. It's a little bit slow. You will find it in the first comment. Please support us if you feel like. And another important thing is that macro prognosis was in general very pessimistic. And a part of GDP, they also discussed the investment growth, which can actually be quite negative. It's in the Russian language that they have phrases like negative growth, which means not just the growth, but decline. So they expected investment growth to be 3%, which is not a lot, but now they think it will be 0.5. I think they know it will be 0 because are you prepared to invest in Russia? Only after the collapse of the Kremlin regime, I guess. Also, industry production expectations are lower, and they predict lower price of ruble and lower price of oil. So, I don't know why many people still believe that Russia is strong, taking into account that during this 1,000 of days, they only managed to get less than 1% of the Ukrainian territory and spend billions, hundreds of billions of dollars on this destruction. This is not a winning strategy. That is a losing strategy. And what we witness since February 2022 is not just Russian violence, craziness, but it is also the process of the destruction of the Russian Federation from inside. Because they overestimated their resources, they underestimated the bravery of Ukraine and the support of our people, in the world, and I'm very grateful to all of your countries. Russia tries to escalate this war. I read a lot about drones in your countries, in your regions. Stay strong. They don't have money, they don't have people to attack you. Ukraine is prepared to share our experience, our skills, and even our people to protect your skies, because we all share the same respect to human life, to democracy, to freedom, to right to change presidents, every 4 or 5, whatever your legislation says, years. And all of that is very important. And no matter how much they will rise taxes inside Russia, this will only bring to a faster and more disastrous collapse of these evil authoritarian regimes. I want to believe, I'm fighting for that, I'm speaking about that. In the 21st century, authoritarian regimes, empires do not live long. Share if you agree, leave your ideas for the next conversations in comments below, follow me on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, Discord, all the links in the description of this video, same as the link to our merch shop, which magically turns you into our ambassadors. And thank you so much for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel, but most importantly, thank you for being friends of mine and friends of Ukraine. United we stand. Slava Ukraini!